Yeah, I think so too. All right. Well, hey, Paul, I'm going to take over from here. Hey, so next week I'm going to be out. Yeah, good luck, everybody. But fortunately, you're going to have Paul here. He's starting it every day at 7 a.m. Eastern in my place. So you guys, I've got asked a few people if you're going to do the bias chart, the bias chart analysis, and I'll leave it up to you. I can give
Yeah,
you
I've
the.
never done it before, so I really don't even know how to go and do it. And so I will try and see. I don't know. I mean, my analysis is kind of different from yours, and mine is more short-term oriented. But I mean, we'll be looking at all the pairs, just like when Blake's out. We're looking at everything under the sun, all the crossfades. If you want to look at the New Zealand dollar versus the Japanese yen, we're looking at those. We don't have time for it on the European crossover, but we'll be going over everything, and I'll broaden the perspective. And we'll look at some key levels. I don't know if we'll be updating the bias chart because I don't even have a copy of the bias chart. I've never even used it,
I'll
but
send it over to you.
we'll be covering everything here, and I'll try and follow. I'll I'll I'll, um,
I'll
I'll put my direction more to the way Blake does his format than opposed to mine, although mine's more short term oriented. But I think today's going to be a big day, and I think we're going to start to see the first movements of the dollar. And it sounds like you're already bullish the dollar, and I think you're going to be coming in right at the very beginning. By the way, once again, congratulations on that cable trade. Be honest with you, I never would have done it from a mobile phone. So props to you. You see what I'm saying? So
Oh yeah,
congrats
I,
on that.
I shorted the I shorted the pound at 124.74 mobile,
Mhm.
and then I covered it at 123 like 60. Yeah, yesterday afternoon while my kid was at soccer. I made like 100 pips there. It's like it's crazy. I'll explain to everybody what had happened. It was
I
just a
think you should because that's a
mess.
good spirit. I tell you what, you have more balls than I because I got to admit, if it was me on mobile, I sure as hell wouldn't have done it because I'd be afraid that something I wouldn't be able to get out of the doggone trade. So props to you, but have a good day. Talk to you later.
All right, you too. Thanks, Paul. Um, okay, so traders, hey, good morning, happy Friday. First of all, um, kind of recap everything that happened. So, first and foremost, just so you guys know, I was long the cable going into yesterday's mayhem. I've been bearish, and I wasn't short the pound dollar. So, I mean, long the pound dollar. I'll just get that out of the way. But I had shorted the euro pound. I'd shorted the euro pound. I bought a little bit of pound Canadian yesterday, and I was literally in the other room, and I look over at my screen, and all I see is this on my screen. This I see this, and I see it was a 5 minute chart, so I see this, okay, and I see on a couple of my screens all the numbers are flashing like crazy, and I was just getting a snack, but I peeked around to look at into the office, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So I ran into the office, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the pound, and is it really trading at 121 whatever? And and one of my platforms didn't the trading had been turned off, and I'm like, what? We're trading at 121 and change. I'm like, what? And then I'm sitting there watching it for maybe like another minute, and I realize, oh my God, I'm short the euro pound, and it's trading at like 190, or it's trading at like 92. Um, and I'm like, oh my God, am I still short the euro pound? And we're trading up. Well, it was like 91 and change, and this is like through here. All the quotes weren't working on Desktop Pro. So some other platforms were not. Anyway, make a long story short, I got out of the euro pound, and I got out of the pound Canadian, and I took a hickey in those. I had stops were pretty deep, but they got triggered. I turned around, and I'm like, oh, this is in very thin liquidity. Um, I this is like thin liquidity. I need to be buying the pound. And then the trade stations went live again, and I picked up the pound dollar at 121.30, 121.30 basically, and I sold it at 123.70, like right here, like within 10 minutes, maybe 7 minutes or something like that. And I didn't, obviously sell the highs or anything. I was just like, what the hell happened? And then, when the dust had settled, I actually still was down money, and I'm like, damn, after getting stopped out of all the other stuff. And you guys know me. I've been bearish. This is the funniest thing about this whole situation for me. Not necessarily funny for any of you guys, but it's funny for me. Is you guys know I've been bearish the pound for for God knows how long. And then of course yesterday is the day where I decide, oh yeah, I'm going to pick up a little bit of cable on the long side, not necessarily the pound dollar. I shorted the euro pound, and the euro pound had a nice little reversal candle on Wednesday night, Wednesday, Thursday. I bought the pound Canadian, because I knew the Canadian dollar was weak. And so, of course, I bought some pound Canadian, euro Canadian, and anyway, to make a long story short, after those trades, and then after shorting the cable, I shorted the cable mobile at 124. I was in the chat room and I'm like, I got to go pick up my kid from soccer. I said, if the pound gets anywhere close to 125, I'm saying this in the chat room, you guys got to short it. And it was at 124.74, and I swear I top ticked the damn thing. And then I got out on the move down to 123.60, and it's been crazy. Actually, that move was right here. That move was right here because it was in Asia last night. So it was here at 120. I sold at 124.74, got out at 123.65, and then I actually just bought it. I just bought it before the morning edge at 122.80, sold it at 123.30. And then now I'm done with it. I'm done. I actually still, after all the dust has settled, I think I've still lost money in the cable the last 12 hours. But I traded myself out of a hole, which is good. I know not the same is going to be said for you guys and gals. Some of you may have done really well. Some of you, maybe didn't. And the fact of the matter is we were sitting here for the last couple of days, and I'm like, the pound's going to capitulate at some point. It's just really going to, it's going to capitulate. And this is a couple of days ago. I obviously I didn't think it was going to happen. That move was going to happen in Asian trade. Now, the real question, and this is, I just tweeted it. I tweeted it just a little while ago. The question I've got from, dozens and dozens and dozens of traders over the last 12 hours is, hey, was that a capitulation? And so the tweet that I put out this morning, a couple of tweets saying that, when the market capitulates, and by the way, that is a very overused term, and I don't. If you normally listen to the webinar, I don't take kindly to people using that term frequently. I think it's a term that you shouldn't use frequently because it doesn't happen frequently. If I could count the number of times that the market has capitulated that I've seen, and I've witnessed firsthand all of them. Like, I've been in front of my computer, except for the one where the Swiss National Bank put on the peg. I was actually in a cabin, even though I was long the dollar Swiss at the time. You guys know, because I was out of town, and most of you that listen here, several years ago, remember I was actually out of town and I was long the dollar Swiss as a result. But all these capitulations, when there's a capitulation in the market, what a capitulation is when everybody throws up their hands and says, just get me out, or get me in a trade, whatever it is. So the capitulation the one I was just referring to was this one here. I actually bought the dollar Swiss at 77 cents after we moved like that. I bought it there and then I sold it following. This is when they announced the peg. I sold it, um, like a week later, at like 88 cents. Now, these types of moves, that this one happened back in 2011. Those types of moves, they just don't happen every day. And when they happen, you have to understand the mechanics behind it. Okay, think about the entire world finally saying, excuse my language, fudge it, get me out. That's what happens when you get a capitulation. When everybody is in a trade, like I remember when the dollar Swiss was moving lower. I remember this whole move, and every 100 pips, people were like, all right, that's it, that's the bottom. I'm buying it. And then another 100 pips lower. It can't go any lower. We just hit an extension. That I'm buying it. And I just remember it's like, man, this thing is going to start to cascade. It's like a snowball rolling down the mountain, right? And at some point, the snowball will crash into a building or something at the bottom of the mountain. And when that happens, then you see the reversal. When you get the explosion of the snowball, or like if a piano is falling from 40 floors up, once it hits the ground and the piano shatters on the ground, that's the capitulation. So a capitulation is when everybody at one time says, screw it, I'm out, I can't take anymore, just get me out. And then that cascading move finally stops, and then you see a massive reversal. Okay, it happens during periods of massive liquidity because you've got everybody doing the same thing. You've got every single trader saying, fudge it, get me out of the market. See, what happened in the pound overnight is not that. The move that you saw on the cable overnight was in no liquidity, thin liquidity. It was very much a predatory move, if you ask me, if you want to ask my personal opinion. It was a very predatory, big move, flushed out. Somebody just basically pushed the pound over the ledge, tripped a bunch of stops. So a lot of stops got tripped, but there weren't many participants there able to sell. You understand? It's like, okay, yeah, there were probably accounts that got tripped up that, you bought the pound at 125 yesterday or 126 yesterday. You put your stop below 121. You're like, this ain't gonna get hit. No, I'll risk 500 pips. Well, then you got stopped out, right? Those were stops that were triggered that you had no idea you thought there was no way in God's name it was gonna get tripped. Well, there wasn't anybody around. I mean, there was a few of us. I happen to be around, but there wasn't, the majority of the market, most Europeans, and you're talking about the pound, okay? Traders in the UK, I would say 90% of them were sleeping, okay? So no one was able to participate. They got up this morning and they're like, what the hell happened last night? See, in my opinion, that doesn't justify the designation of a capitulation. I think the market got clobbered, but if you think that these are the lows, I don't think that they're the lows. Now that doesn't mean that it can't be the low. I'm just saying that if you look at the dollar and you look at what the dollar may do in the coming weeks, days, ahead or whatever, if you look at it right now, there's a good chance that the dollar could continue to rally. You just look at the dollar index and you look at what may happen here. We're coming out of this wedge. The channel high is over here. We're at 97. Its channel high is at 99. The longer term channel high is at 100. If the dollar makes its way to 99 or 100 over the course of the next couple of months, the pound's probably going to be trading in the 120 to 115 range, realistically. Realistically, okay? That's barring no other external shock or crap that happened last night. So I wouldn't look at the cable and say, all right, that's it. That was it. Now, you'll know a capitulation when you see it. That wasn't it. Everyone I've seen, I know it. When I see it, I can go, man, that was it. But last night, in the very thin liquidity, I personally, hey, we have a strong non-farm payroll today. Let's just say, like we create some 220,000 jobs or something nutty like that, which I don't think is going to be the case, but let's just say we do. And the pound's probably going to be trading below 122, by next week. And we'll probably continue to see the dollar rally, and, we'll probably get below 120 at some point, in the next couple of weeks. I do feel bad for people that are, establishing longer term cable positions, because I do think that the pound has the potential to move into the teens and probably into the single digit midget numbers, which would be like 109, 108, 105. That's not uncharted territory for the cable. And so I'm going to warn you guys about trying to pick up the pound on a longer term basis. Now, I understand there's a lot of volatility right now, and if you want to buy it here and there and just try to pick it up and pick up 50 pips here or there, or, but you better keep your risk really tight. This is not a time to be messing around with long the pound and, putting in a 500 pip stop and, targeting 150 in the cable. I don't think that this is the time, right? You notice how in the pound dollar we have now gotten a foothold below 125. 125, just so you all know, and I'm going to put you on break in a few minutes, so just bear with me. 125, so you all know, was the 127% extension of the post-Great Financial Crisis, the GFC we call it. That's the 127% extension. The 161% extension comes in at 112. If I would have got up this morning and we were trading back at 126, if I would have got up this morning and said, oh, look, it's like nothing ever happened, it would be a different story. Given that we are sitting down here and we are consolidating below 125, leads me to believe that we've got a lot lower levels to go. Okay, so guys, just please be careful. It's obviously very crazy out there. I'm just happy those of you that are listening in right now have the ability to listen in. If you guys have been dollar bears, and I hope you just didn't get hurt too much. All right, I really do, because as you know, I've been broadcasting for 14 years, and I care about each and every one of you that listen in on a daily basis, because many of you have been listening in to this broadcast for over a decade, and I care about you all because you're like my extended family. I spend more time with you guys than I do with my kids sometimes. So anyway, all right, well, hey, it is break time. We've got a lot of stuff to do ahead of non-farm payroll. When we come back, we're going to go through all the majors like we normally do. I did manage to pick up some dollar yen last night at 103.58. I'm barely up. I'm only up, 6-7 pips right now. I am still short the New Zealand dollar from 71.90. I'm still long my Euro Canadian yesterday at 147.45, and I'm still long the Aussie New Zealand. I managed to kind of make my way around after getting myself turned into the pound whipping boy yesterday as well. So. Glad you guys are all here. I'll be back in a few minutes. When I come back, it's time to get our analysis on. We're going to go through all the majors carefully and get all of our key support and resistance levels out on the bias chart and get to it. So you guys, we'll see you in a bit. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to go grab some more coffee. Thanks.